Welcome to the Period Besties podcast with Stasha and Katie. Think about it as chatting with your best friends about all the TMI stuff you've never talked about before with two period coaches who've been helping hormones collectively for over 20 years now. I'm Stasha.
And I'm Katie, and we're pulling back the curtain on what it's like in the world of menstrual coaching. From puberty to menopause and everything in between, we're here to show you how period coaching can save the day. We'll share practical tips and information you can put to immediate use to improve your hormones and happiness.
We're removing the mystery, ending the taboo, and shining a light on just how powerful period coaching can be.
So whether you need period coaching or are considering becoming a period coach yourself, these episodes are going to help you. We'll share stories, coach live on air, and bring smart, savvy guests to share their wisdom too. Let's start today's episode.
That was fun. That was so fun. Honestly, I'm like still smiling, and I had the most fun with this conversation. Amanda, I've known her forever. It's been really cool to watch her through the process and her creating this incredible business that has so many different aspects of it, which I was like, oh my God, which makes sense because we were talking about human design and she's a manifesting generator. So of course she's going to have all these big ideas coming together. Oh my God, it was so fun. I loved, just to be a little selfish, I would love learning a little bit more about myself.
Yeah, I really didn't know anything about human design going into this conversation. So it was a real learning experience, which I learned today. I am very much a learner. So that makes absolute sense. I do love learning and I do love new things. So it was fun to have somebody come on that I had really no experience in and learn a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, it was a fun episode. If you are at all inclined to learn about human design, personality things, behind the scenes stuff, any kind of that interest, this is definitely the episode for you.
Yeah. And if you're really working with your cycle and in flow, she really talks a lot about how knowing where you are in your cycle and human design can actually help you. And we decided to keep us all sane.
Yes.
So without further ado, meet Amanda. Welcome back, Period Besties. We have a really fun episode today. We have Amanda here. Yay. We love Amanda. I've known Amanda for years. She actually did my human design chart. She was part of our Peri workshop last fall. And we are just going to geek out on human design today and how that can really sync up with our cycles and help us feel more in our bodies. So Amanda, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. I'm super excited to also geek out.
Tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and how you got into human design. And I know that's not all you do, so please share with everybody what all the things are that you do, because it's really amazing.
Okay, awesome. So like Katie said, my name is Amanda Dumichel. I am a life strategist and mindset coach. I just changed that because I realized all the things I do to help people like operate in their life. And I'm like, this is more than coaching. It's more like strategy. So I just changed it to life strategist and mindset coach because I combine different modalities like mindset coaching, human design, nervous system regulation, and now transformational breathwork as well. And essentially, I help women really gain awareness about who they really are, what they really want, and why they're feeling stuck and unfulfilled, and essentially help them get out of their own way and really live a life that they truly want, and also to feel more sane, like Katie said. How I got into this. So when I was like 9 or 10, actually, I told my dad I wanted to be a brain surgeon because I always thought that when something was wrong with someone, there was just like some wires off. So I thought like I could just open up their brain and reconnect the wires and that would fix it. But I struggled with learning and I was told that I wasn't really smart enough to be a doctor like that. We didn't really have the resources, to be honest, to go to college for that kind of degree. And also I don't like blood, and I have never liked blood. I still, even to this day, I'm almost 45 and I still struggle giving blood myself. So that didn't work out. No brain surgeon here, but I did a number of jobs instead. And I had a 6-figure photography business that I ended up walking away from officially about 4 years ago to get into coaching, because even at 9 or 10, I knew that I really wanted to help people. I just didn't know that this would be the way. So now, instead of brain surgery, I still get to work with people to rewire their brain, but just in a different way, and help them connect to their bodies and live more in alignment with who they are today, which is what I really wanted to do when I was 9 or 10. It wasn't really about the brain surgery. It's just that's what my little brain told me was the only way. That's pretty much it. I just feel really connected to all of the different modalities, and then also learning about hormones eventually from you, Katie, and just how it all syncs up, and how amazing our bodies are and our brains are and our nervous systems are. And once you can really step out of that and see yourself in that way, how much easier it is to be more curious instead of judgmental, and really work on the things that you need to work on in order to feel more fulfilled and more alive. That's
That. And I feel like
that.
we have to have you come back and talk about everything else that you do, because it's really incredible. Even the breath work, the trauma work, like all of that. Today we're going to talk about human design. And I thought that because Dasha and I were talking about this, we were like, we know what we are, but we don't really know much about human design. So can you kind of share with us what human design actually is?
Yeah. So human design is a made up thing. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No, human design is a system that actually combines multiple sciences and traditions, which is another reason why I really love it. And it's so easy to geek out on this. And Sasha, actually, you and I are the same profile lines. We're both a 1-3. So you probably really love like diving in and learning about things and why something is a certain way, and like really understanding stuff. So it's quantum physics, it's neutrinos, it's genetics and biology, it's the chakra system, it's the I Ching, it's astrology, it's Kabbalah. So it like takes all of these different sciences and traditions, and it combines them all in creating your energy type, the like different gifts that you have. And so it's basically like a roadmap or a blueprint, like a personal blueprint of how you were designed to operate in the world. And what I find really interesting about it is that no two people are designed exactly the same. Like before I got into coaching, I was always realizing how this person operates like this, and this person operates like this, and this person thinks this, and this person thinks this. And especially like working with trauma and stuff, like when you're from 0 to 7 years old, everything that you're taking in really conditions who you are. And because I had brothers who were so close to me in age, I was always really fascinated about how we went through the same exact experience, but we received different things. And so human design actually really helps you understand that as well, like how you're really open to receiving things and what you think and the purpose and how you're designed. And that's why you're picking up things throughout the world too. So it really helps you understand how no two people are the same. And it really helps you understand how we process stress, how we process emotions, our external influences, like I was just saying, how we make decisions, the environment that we feel the most abundant in, and how to really flow with all of that stuff. It helps you come back to who you are instead of what society says you should be. So understanding your design really helps you understand your own natural rhythms.
That was really interesting. I've seen people talk about human design in business, right? Because I've done a lot of business coaching, and I've definitely had human design clients in the business coaching world, and then just people that I've met. And they often talk about things like creating and really somebody who produces a lot of content, like these little bits and pieces essentially of saying, oh yeah, you're probably a generator, or oh yeah, I see you out here, so I see you as a whatever. So what I want to know is, what are the different types to human design? Are there just like some key archetypes to it, or does it really break down into person by person?
So there's 5 different types. There's generators, manifesting generators, projectors, reflectors, manifestors. So everybody has their own type. And the type really decides your energy or your aura and how people feel you, your energy, the energy you're putting out. So like a generator like you, Sasha, you're like this energizer bunny. Actually, you're in the manifesting generators are similar. I'm a manifesting generator. So we can really use a lot of energy all day. And it's actually really important for you to use your energy up all day. If you get to the end of the day and you're feeling like really restless and you just could stay up all night, or you're feeling frustrated or exhausted, that kind of feeling, like overwhelmed, it might be because you didn't use up your energy all day. You might have were super busy all day, but you didn't use up like aligned energy all day where you're feeling super fulfilled. And so that would be more like you, where Katie is a projector and her time is more like these 2 to 4 hour bursts of energy, and she's meant to be more of value instead of working really hard. And she's meant to focus on herself, building herself up, and having generators and manifesting generators be drawn to her light, like a lighthouse. So it's really different. And then manifesting generators are really, I'm like all over the place. Like I could be doing, like, that's why when you're looking at my office, like in front of me, I have my camera, my desk, and over here's the Peloton, and behind me is a different bike and a workout ball and Pilates equipment over here and a treadmill over here, because I just need multiple things around me to just constantly have something to do, kind of thing. So there are different energy types, but this is where I think a lot of people in human design get this wrong, because they always just teach on type, and knowing your type really does help you. Like I know Katie for sure felt super validated hearing that she was a projector, because the world isn't designed for projectors. So she probably felt really validated in that. But for me, like my husband's a manifesting generator, and we can be more different because he's different profile lines. He has different open centers. He has different gates. He's just he operates in a different way than I do. So type isn't really the only thing that matters. It's really important to understand that. But even when I work with my clients, it's super quick, unless you're like a projector. Then I might dive into it a little bit more. Or reflectors are super open. They're more like the mirrors of the world. And there's only 1% of them, I think. I think manifestors too, there's only like 8% of them. So if you're in those manifestor, reflector, projectors, then I might go into a little bit more. But generators and manifesting generators, there's going to be little tips here and there, but it's like, it's really not the most important thing that I would tell you about. For you guys specifically, what I would tell you more about is your open centers, how you handle your emotions, how you manage fear, and your intuition. That is like where I would go if I was working with the two of you, especially when it comes to your cycle, because obviously with your menstrual cycle, your energy fluctuations, especially in the luteal phase when you're really into the emotions, because certain types of designs really amplify certain emotions, and then the luteal phase amplifies it even more. And I can talk more about that because I have a super defined solar plexus and many emotional waves. And so that was like a huge learning for me, like in human design and then in my cycle. So that's more like where I go with my clients, is like really understand those things. Because I think, Sasha, you said in one of your last podcast episodes, the why, like in your book, you really want to understand the why, what's wrong, like specifically what's wrong, why is it wrong? I also loved what you said about like when people aren't showing up, why specifically are they not showing up? And you said something in the episode about fear of success and fear of failure. And then Katie was, oh yeah, I never thought of that. That's because in Katie's design, she doesn't have those fear gates, but Sasha, you and I have those fear gates. So fear of the future, fear of inadequacy, basically that might keep us from even showing up to something like this, especially fear of inadequacy. For me, when I first started working with Katie, it brought up all of this stuff in me of, if I have to start working on this and my hormones are off because of trauma and the things that I went through, and then that means that something is inadequate about me. And then because I'm a manifesting generator and I'm all over the place, and I have an open G center, which also makes me all over the place, my emotions are all over the place, I just don't feel like I will be able to do what Katie wants me to do. And because I also have the fear of the future, I feel like if I can't make this work, what will happen? And then I also have the fear of the past repeating itself, which goes back to trauma. And my mom, who was called bipolar and all this stuff, ended up passing away at 58 years old of cancer. So if like this past repeating itself, if I can't get these hormones in place, what will that mean? Will I turn into her? So it becomes like so hard if your nervous system is wrecked. You just go into this fear or like fight or flight freeze mode. And sometimes it was really hard to even do the thing she was saying because it was like admitting something, being afraid that it's not going to work out. So it's just better to eat the pizza. It was just a lot to manage. So I really had to learn from Katie about the cycle stuff and how to be in flow with it, learn from her and all of her expertise. And then I really had to understand my human design, how I process emotions, like what to do, when to do it, my environment that felt really good. And then it all just came down to really accepting where I was and why that, like you said, Sasha, why this is happening and what you can do instead, basically figuring that out for me. But my story to somebody else might hear this, and Sasha, especially you too, like you have some emotional waves, you have an open G center, you're a 1-3 line. So we are similar in some ways. So some of the stuff I might be saying might really resonate with you. And then Katie, you might have had other clients that are like me, plus you've worked with me. So some of it is resonating for you, but it's different. Like you two right now in this meeting are having completely different experience, which is what's interesting about human design. So you're both going to come into it and be like this, and it's going to be super intuitive and really informative because you're both coming at it from a different perspective.
That's so fascinating. I loved when you shared the experience of working together and what was going on in the background. Because like we did talk about those things, but now that you are talking about the human design part of it, makes so much sense to understand when working with clients, like where they're coming from in terms of how they're processing information. It's fascinating. Yeah, it's really interesting. Maybe I should just put that in my intake form. What type are you?
Yeah, that's why. So I'm creating a program for coaches to learn human design and how to use it with their clients because let me actually go ahead and share my screen now because this would make more sense if you could see the difference in our designs.
Stasha jumping in real quick here to say if you'd like to see this, you can go to my YouTube channel at Stasha Washburn, the Period Coaching channel, and see the actual video of this interview. Otherwise, enjoy.
Okay, so this is Katie's. So you can see that Katie's design here, these are your centers here. And the top two are colored in. This is your head and ajna center. This is your G center, which is all about identity. And here's your spleen, which is all about intuition. This is where your fear gates are. And so she's only defined here. So that means like for all of these other open centers, like the throat center, the ego center, the solar plexus, sacral, root, all of these are open. And this is where you have more inconsistent energy, especially like sacral energy, root energy, which is like the pressure to do things. You're absorbing other people's emotions. You don't have like consistent access to motivation or like your voice, but you're also super empathetic here. So when somebody is going through something emotionally, you're not just being sympathetic, you actually feel what they're feeling in their body. So that can really help as long as you're okay with processing those emotions, like with them and for them. That is okay to have that, but it can be really overwhelming for you if you're not aware of that because you can be taking on other people's emotions if you're around people with tons of emotions and you go through a whole day with all of this. If you're around like people who are energetically draining for you, if you're around somebody who's putting a lot of pressure on you, this can just like totally trash your adrenals and your cortisol and all of that kind of stuff. So that's how you're operating. That's what also makes you a projector because you don't have this sacral defined. So you don't have like consistent access to energy. And then you also have these two arrows here facing left. So what to do and when to do it is going to be more planned out and more of a masculine energy. So you're actually really good at sticking to structures and plans and meal plans and all of that kind of stuff. And then you have consecutive appetite as your diet and digestion, which is about consuming food, but it's also about consuming information and how you do things. So this is like really simple, whole, unprocessed, one at a time kind of thing. So you're really good at like simplifying things, which is really good for a projector because you need things to be more like simplified.
Can I say something before? Because I think this is really interesting. So I think what you're saying is corporate was never a good place for me.
No, it definitely was never. It was the only way corporate would be a good place for you is if you were more of a consultant.
Which is what I'm doing. Yeah,
that would be the only, not the only thing, but that you would either need to do that or work in a corporate space where they just allow you to like put in all the value for 2 to 4 hours. And then they're totally okay with you just doing really easy, busy work for the rest of the time. But that's not going to be fulfilling for you at all. You need to have a place where you feel more value and something more exciting to you. That corporate is not really. But because you're a 3-6 here, this means you were up until 30 years old. You were a 3-3, which means that you were trial and error leading up to 30. Like you were all just trial and error. Make mistakes, figure it out, make mistakes, figure it out, which can also be really draining on your adrenals and your cortisol and all that kind of stuff because you're just constantly putting yourself in a situation where you might fail and you have to figure it out. And it doesn't matter how well you are in your mindset or how curious you are, anything like that, it still is going to cause you to feel something in some way, some sort of pressure, and any kind of tenseness in your body is sending information and saying, raise the cortisol. We have to either run away from this or fall flat on the ground. And so no one thinks that we're dead or something. It's just this constant fight or flight situation. So you have to be really good at processing your energy and your emotions and self-care, stuff like that. That's another thing. I don't know if I already said this, but that was another thing from the podcast that I recognized was right away that you were a generator and projector, because Sasha said something like, we need to slow down. But when you have a day off, what do we even do with that day off? And Katie was like, I know exactly what to do with that day off. It's because generators and manifesting generators are like, we have to go and that's our value. And if we're not producing, we're not valuable. That's like a conditioning you can take on, is that energy type. But for Katie as a projector, her whole life, she's been trying to find ways to rest and be okay in that rest. So it's really different because Katie was like, yeah, I don't resonate with that either. But when Sasha said in the podcast, I was like, totally resonate with that, because that was the hardest thing for me at first, was like, you have to rest, you have to rest, you have to rest. And all that did was cause this internal chaos within me. And it was more just like, I didn't have to rest. I just had to intentionally spend my day differently so that I wasn't constantly stressed out. So instead, what I started noticing is, does this thing that I'm doing cause me to feel stress in my body? Does this feel stressful in any way? And I really started to tune into my body, like, okay, yeah, my shoulders feel tight. My arms feel tingly. My calves are super tight. My legs are super tight. I just started doing Pilates and they were like, it's in Japanese. So it's like Japanese English. So they're like holding my legs. They're like, relax, Amanda-san, relax. I'm trying to relax. And I've held so much trauma and tension in my hips and my legs that they're just like, they're ready to go at any time to run away. So it's really funny, but yeah. So it's more about intentional.
It's just interesting because I feel like I can't believe you hit the nail on the head with the 3 in my 30s, like basically burning myself out. And now I'm just like, give me all the rest. I'm like, I think I'm still tired from the first half of my life.
It's probably true. And it's the biggest thing with human design is it really helps you accept where you are. That's one of the things that I really try to work with clients, is really understanding exactly who they are and what they want, and just eliminating everything else that they're being told to do, because you really have to just decide who you really want to be and what you're capable of, and just accept that without any judgment whatsoever. There's no judgment for you wanting to rest or only work like 2 to 4 hours a day. That's fine. There's also no judgment for me getting super into something and super excited about it, feeling super motivated and working on it for 16 hours straight. As long as I'm fueling my body and taking care of my body and it's not feeling stressed out, that is okay. But I would never say to Katie, in order to be successful, you need to sit down and work on this. That would never be something I would say to you. But to a manifesting generator, if they feel like they can only work like 2 to 4 hours a day and they're constantly feeling drained and tired and unmotivated, that's not supposed to be how your energy works. So let's look at what you're doing that's draining so much energy out of you, and how to start doing other things that you actually want to do. And then you'll start to find that energy and motivation and life force energy that makes you want to dive in. Which brings me to Sasha. So Sasha, here's your chart. So you can see like you're really open to, like your head, ajna, throat, G center, all of this is really open to, and then you're more defined here. And because you're defined in your solar plexus, you have emotional waves like I do. You have 30 to 41. So this is the abstract wave, which means that this is all about expectations. So I have 3 waves, and it's about expectations, your needs getting met, and then taking individual time. So for you, Sasha, with this emotional wave, this feels like a kind of a buildup and then a crash. And this is really about what you feel like the outcome should be. And you're really excited. And then if the outcome isn't exactly what you thought it would be, it could be like an immediate crash. Have you ever felt that before?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So when you're in your luteal phase, because the crash is more extreme than it really should be, when you're in your luteal phase, it's going to feel even more like that. And so because this is around like your desired life, a romantic partner, a certain outcome, like your business, if you're not aware of this and you're not aware of your luteal phase, I think you said in the different podcast, you're like, I could murder somebody. Yeah. Like you definitely feel like you could do that. Like that's how that feels. That's how mine feels. If you look at my design, I'm like super defined.
Mhm.
And then I have this wave and partially of this wave. So before, what was happening to me is my expectations could be getting high. I feel like my needs could be getting met. I feel like a lot of friends are reaching out, things like that. I'm getting a lot of space and time to spend alone, and everything feels good. And then all of a sudden, if something happens, like all of a sudden my husband does something and my needs don't feel met, or a certain outcome didn't happen with my business, crash. If all of a sudden my space is being invaded too much, then crash. So I could literally have huge crash of all 3 of these waves. And if all of that happened in the luteal phase, which is more likely because of how we feel in that phase, it was hard. That was like the times when because I also have a hormone imbalance of estrogen dominance and low progesterone. So not being aware of that caused extreme internal thoughts of taking my own life kind of stuff. And I had to step back and be like, this is hormones. And then when I learned about human design, I was like, okay, this is because my expectations were too high. Okay, this is where my needs weren't getting met. Okay, this is where I need some alone time. And now I can picture it and feel it in my body. And I can even feel when my expectations are getting high. I'm like, okay, I feel like my expectations are getting high. Let's try to be excited, but tone this down a little bit so that if I feel that low, it's a little less so that it doesn't be extreme. And then watching my cycle really helps too, because if I'm going into days 19, 20, 24, I'm like, my expectations are feeling high. Are my needs getting met? Because I don't want to have all of this come crashing down at one time. But then that's why I learned things like breathwork, because I'm like, okay, all I need to do if that happens is regulate my nervous system, ask for what I need, get back to the drawing board of what I'm working on to have a different outcome, change my mindset around like how it makes me feel because trauma and because of fear gates. So that's why it becomes this life strategy, because there's so much in here that I'm like, okay, do this. And then you just start to move slow. Okay, I need to focus on this and then this. And then eventually you just come out of it and it's a lot easier to manage. But you can see from our designs how different we are. I'm so defined and you guys are so open. And then all these arrows are very different. Katie's is both left, so she's really good at structure. Sasha, your what to do is more flexible. When to do it is more scheduled. So like meal planning or exercising, you could be like, every Tuesday and Thursday, I'm going to work out, or every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to work out. But then on those days, you just wait to see what feels good to you in your body, what lights you up. You don't say, I'm going to run every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, because then you might not show up. That day, you might be like, I don't feel like running. Then all of a sudden you're judging yourself because you don't feel like running. Like, I can't be consistent. I'm never going to meet my goals, blah, blah, blah. When really you should have just decided to go for a walk, ride a bike, do Pilates, do something else. Like, it's okay. And then mine is both facing right. So what to do, when to do is never consistent. Plus I'm a manifesting generator. So I constantly think everything sounds good. And then I'm an open G center, which means I can chameleon into anything. So at first this is like analysis paralysis. It's like what to do, when to do. But that's why I have everything in my space. Cause I'm like, okay, what to do, when to do I can't plan that out, but I can listen to my body. And I can be in this space. Do I feel like Pilates? And if my body moves to it, I'm like, yeah. If it's like away, then no. If it's towards a Peloton, then yeah. If it's towards my bike, then yeah. If it's towards just walking, then yeah. So then I just listen to my body, knowing that my intention is to move my body every day, eat something healthy, and it's all just here. And I just let my body tell me where to go and when to do it.
It's such a cycle thing. As you're talking about that, it's so clear to me how if you're a schedule a what and when person, it's great. In follicular, I'm going to do a hike at noon every day. And then in ovulation, I'm going to do a hike with weights and a weighted vest. And then in luteal, I'm going to do Pilates at 3. But if you're more me, I'm going to go out in the afternoon and I'll go hike the dogs nowhere. We'll just head out when it's nice in the afternoon at 3 when it's warm, or in the summer in the evening right before the sun goes down. And so and then if you're an absolutely no schedule person, it's okay, I'm in follicular. What feels good? What do I want to do to move? It's just so clearly, I can see how easy it is to keep everything in flow in a way that really works for you, so that you are hitting those, I'm going to move my body today, I'm going to eat healthy today, but in a way that for you makes the most sense and is doable, and right, so you aren't
Yes.
consistent, but it's in a way that actually really works for you. I love it.
Yeah. That's like exactly what you're saying is exactly how your energy is supposed to work. Cause you even have the right angle cross of unexpected. So you're meant to be really comfortable in the unexpected. Whatever comes up, I'm just going to be like, okay with this. And then you're a 1-3, which means that this 3 line is like trial and error and just, I'll go figure it out. And because your emotional solar plexus, you're meant to make decisions based on the fluctuation of your mood and your emotions. So if you're high in your emotions, you might do more socializing and things like that. If you're low, you might be more stay at home kind of thing. Like you said, just the hiking, if you're more neutral, but it's also really important to make decisions based on this too. So like, when you are in your high and you're being more social and the friend at the party is like, hey, we should do this on Saturday. You're not like, yes. You're like, hold, let me wait till I'm in neutral and then let me check my cycle and then I will let you know. Or like when you're in a low and you're just like, everything sucks and you're just online buying too much stuff because everything sucks. You need to make sure that you're riding those waves. And for Katie, she has splenic authority. So it's all about trusting her intuition. So she's intuitively called to do something like, what is my intuition saying? And that's how she makes decisions, is really tuning into that. And then we all have these signature feelings. So if Katie is feeling like this sense of success, then she's doing what's in alignment for her. If she feels really bitter, then something here is not aligned. So it's stepping back and saying, I'm feeling so bitter. What specifically? It comes back to that, Sasha, what you say about why and what's really wrong. What am I feeling so bitter about? And instead of why, I generally use like what specifically, how specifically, because what and how questions are generally easier to answer instead of why do I feel so bitter? Sometimes that can feel triggering. It can just be like, okay, what am I feeling so bitter about? And then instantly your subconscious will be like, my husband, that I haven't written pages for this book, that I haven't done this thing yet, that I feel like I should do this, but I'm not doing it, or whatever it is. And then it'll just like instantly snap in. And for me, I also have emotional solar plexus, so I have to ride out that wave of like making decisions as well. But ours is the same. So satisfaction and frustration. So if I'm doing something, even like how you select food. If this feels really satisfying and it's aligned with your goals. So sometimes I'll eat pizza and it's not satisfying. It's just like, it's good and it's fun to eat pizza, but it's not satisfying as much as if I eat a kale salad with quinoa and fruits and vegetables and all this stuff. That's actually satisfying to me. And frustration is when something isn't in alignment for you. So this is how I started to realize that photography was no longer where I should be, because I just really started feeling so frustrated all the time with everything that I was doing. And in the back of my mind, because we operate from our subconscious 95% of the time, once I really started tuning into this, it was because I didn't want to be working on this. I wanted to be learning about coaching. I wanted to be learning about neuroscience. I wanted to be learning about the nervous system. And because my brain was like, can we please work on this? Then what I was working on was super frustrating. So it was like, okay, this is no longer in alignment for me. And then you have to ride out your emotional waves to just make sure, wait till you get to your follicular phase to also make sure, and then be like, okay, this is what I want when it comes to big decisions.
I
So,
definitely identify with frustration as an emotion that I'm very aware of. When I am
yeah.
frustrated, not even a couple weeks ago, maybe even just a couple of days ago, we were sick. And I was just like, I am so frustrated. I have lost 2 follicular phases in a row to being sick, and I am frustrated. I just
Yeah.
kept saying frustrated over and over again. That was, oh yeah, 100%
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
definitely.
And obviously we can't control if we get sick and this happens,
Right.
like what happened a month ago. And now I'm just in this brain fog era. I just have to accept that this is what it
Yeah.
is. And then with your one line, this is like an investigator, this curious energy. And so in being prepared. And so it really is just like stepping out and being like, yeah, I'm feeling really frustrated. I miss these phases. I'm just going to accept where this is at. And what can I actually do about it? So which is what you talked about in one of the other podcasts too, and probably in your book. But it's okay, what actions can I take that are aligned with my energy that will help me to start getting out of this frustration? Because I'm sure both of you know that once you're in a certain state of like bitterness, frustration, anger, whatever it is, even sadness, all of a sudden everything is frustrating. I'm frustrated about this one thing and now I'm frustrated about 1,000 things. So you need to move your body and your mind out of that frustration, because you don't want confirmation bias to only focus on the things that you're frustrated about. You want to start focusing on what you can do. So that's why, like for me, understanding my fear gates, understanding my emotional waves, understanding where I'm at in my cycle, it's okay, what's something I could learn today? How can I honor my emotional needs today? Am I in my fear gates at all? So, because what you said, I'm sick, I miss these follicular phases. What does that really mean? You miss them, but how is that a problem for you? What did that cause? What did you miss out on? What do you think is going to happen? How is that really affecting you? Because you could just miss those phases and just be totally fine, but for some reason it's bothering you. And that's where the alignment piece is at. And you're like, okay, what specifically is causing me to be frustrated about the fact that I missed these follicular phases? And then focus on that. What can I specifically do about that now? How can I start putting my energy towards that? Because for a long time, I was like, I have these emotional waves. I have the open G center. I have these arrows going this way. I'm also triple split, which means I'm like in my head, then I'm in my emotions, then I'm in my fear. And it was just this constant like this. And then I have estrogen dominance and I have all this trauma and I live in Japan and everything sucks. Like it's just, if I just constantly focus on that, then everything will constantly suck.
Yeah.
So you just have to get into the gifts that you have and be like, okay, like I said, slow way down, get your nervous system regulated and start to figure out what you can do. So essentially moving from this frustrated, crazy person to like, what can I actually do today to start moving out into a different energy? And then all of a sudden you start noticing all the good things. And I think you said that too, Sasha, about practicing gratitude. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. And it's, wow, the grocery store had a pomegranate. I'm so excited. So it's just really interesting once you know this stuff and how your energy is operating, because you can be like, okay, I'm in my emotional wave. I'm in my luteal phase. I'm in this fear. I'm in the follicular phase. I need to focus on this personality gate. It's fun once you really know it.
How do you feel like knowing your human design and knowing where you are in your cycle? How do you feel that it's helped you just day to day? What are some things that you really feel more aligned with?
I feel like the biggest thing for me specifically is going to be in the emotional waves, because it's just like I said earlier, it's like the crashes were just so hard. And then the luteal phase crashes are hard. The high estrogen, no progesterone crashes hard. And so just knowing this, like at first, when I first learned about the cycles, I could just be like, okay, this is day whatever. This is why I'm feeling this way. And just being really curious about that. Okay, what do? I need to go to the sauna. I need to do some self care. I need to walk in grass. I need to get some sun. Like, I don't need to end my marriage. Just the awareness alone of the cycle phases really helps. And then when you add in the layer of human design, you can now I can say, okay, I actually, because right now I don't know how my hormones are doing. I haven't had them tested in a while, but they feel a little bit more regulated. But like now, when I have a little bit of a crash in the luteal phase, I can now also say, is this an emotional wave as well? If it is, which one is it? I feel like it was because my needs were not met. So generally, especially since me and my husband live in Japan alone, my needs are not getting met by my husband. So I have to like say, okay, here's what you can do for me in this phase, or here's what you could do for me today to help me with this. And then he's become super aware of my emotional waves now, to where he doesn't get upset if I need some alone time, or he is more aware of how, if he says he's going to do something and he doesn't, how that might affect my waves. Or like he'll see that my expectations are getting really high, and he'll help me recognize that's happening, because we both know that after like day 18, if something happens, I just don't want to have such a crazy crash. So that's typically where it really helps me. And then also in the fear gates, because the fears are just amplified during that part of the phase as well. So when I'm starting to really get into my fears in the luteal phase, I can just be like, okay, this is an over amplification of these fears. And how do I tap into more of my intuition, my mindset, some breath work to help me get out of the fear and back into the trust? Basically, trust is the opposite of fear. There's 7 gates here, and each one of them is a different fear. So knowing specifically which ones you have is more effective than just being like, you must be afraid of something. Most people don't like to hear that. They're like, no, I'm not. It's then when you start talking specifics, they're like, yes, I am. They're just like, I didn't know, because a lot of it is subconscious.
That makes so much sense to me, and seeing it all laid out. If somebody wants to play along at home, how do they find out what their chart is?
So you can pull up a free chart anywhere. You can get a free chart from my website as well. And then just learning the basics of what the centers are, what the gates are. So I don't offer this on my website, but you can print off a free report in some areas and start diving into it. And then for your listeners, I was going to offer these email insight things. And so if they want to pull up their chart, if they're super curious about which emotional waves they have, which fears they have, like which energy type they are, they can just email me and I'll just respond to that email and just give them a few little insights about their design. Or DM me on Instagram. I love sending like voice notes through Instagram saying, yeah, you have this, because I just geek out on it. But really doing like a full coaching session around human design would be the most effective way to understanding your human design, because I do use ChatGPT a lot to dive in, because there's something like 40 to 50 hours of information. Like you have the open centers, you have these arrows, you have all the gates, you have the planets aligned with the gates. So there's a lot of information here, but ChatGPT sometimes gets it wrong. So I've actually trained my own ChatGPT bot. And with the program that I'm offering for coaches, I'm actually going to give access to this super powered ChatGPT human design girl.
Oh, very
But she's
cool.
really
Awesome.
she's super fun to play around with.
Oh, that's so fun. So when you're working with a client, is that walk us through what a session would look like with you?
Okay, so typically I work with clients over a few weeks, but I do also do one-off sessions where if they're just mostly interested in human design, it's not like typical reading. You're not going to hop on a call. It's not going to be just like, okay, let me tell you all of this information about your design, because that takes hours. So instead, what somebody does is if they want a human design session, like if they want a coaching session that's like more around their human design, they fill out an intake form. They talk about like things they're struggling with, their goals, stuff like that, how they're handling their emotions, their nervous system, things like that. And then I pull the most important information out of their human design to give them that I think would be the most valuable, and then what to actually do with it. So it's changed a little bit, Katie, since we actually did our session. So it's more like coaching. Like I want to use mindset in there plus human design and really come up with a strategy for you on how to actually use this and what parts are the most important for you to know. And then I also use human design in my transformational breathwork sessions. So transformational breathwork sessions are like 60 to 90 minutes. It's active breathing. And basically, we have a session beforehand where we really dive into what's coming up for you, things that you've gone through, trauma that you're trying to work through, the goals that you have, fears that you have, blah, blah, blah. And then I take around 7 to 10 days to really process all of that information. I figure out exactly how your channels are connected, your open centers, your defined centers, how trauma is actually showing up. Like I recently did a session where she just really lost connection to one of the most important parts of her design, which was just giving her a complete identity crisis due to trauma and loss. So during that session, we really processed that grief and then really brought her back to herself through aspects of her design. So that's like another kind of session. And then I do 6 to 12 weeks, sometimes 6 months. I have a yearly client right now that I'm working with. And so that's just more long-term coaching and mindset and nervous system and human design.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can see so many possibilities and so many different things that I can work with, and that makes a lot of sense. So how do you take care of yourself in all of this? What are your day-to-day non-negotiables?
So let's see, day-to-day non-negotiables. So I do have morning and evening routines, like no phone before a certain time. I've been eating like a real protein breakfast lately, drinking water, all the things. And so I really just start my morning off where my nervous system feels really regulated, really taken care of. And I generally throw in some sort of learning because, like I said, with this 1-3 line, the one line really wants to learn something. And so I just honor that by learning something that gets me like energized and motivated for the day. For sessions as a coach, because I have this open G center and it's the only open center I have. So basically, this means that I'm just dealing with my own shit like all the time. Like whatever I think is how it's supposed to do. If I'm having a problem, it's my own thing. But if I have a client and that client is like talking about identity issues, self-love issues, get like too hard on themselves, life path issues, things like that, I can totally absorb all of that. And I do sometimes. And then my husband is defined here. And whenever he's like that too, I absorb it. So I have to energetically, after calls, I do this. And I'm like, okay, that's not mine. That's not mine. That's not mine. And I have to remind myself who I am, what I'm doing, what's important to me, what my values are, my life path. It's like a visualization kind of thing to pull myself out of their energy and back into my own energy. So that's what I have to do in coaching, and especially for the two of you, because you're so open. Stasha, you have the open G center as well. So that's why you went, because you're like resonating because you can absorb that as well as you can absorb like what people think and their opinions. So you're always having discerning what people are telling you. And if all of a sudden stepping back and you're like, wait, I don't think that way. And you're like, who did I get that from? Because you've absorbed it from somebody else. So energetically, after every coaching session, I'm always disconnecting myself from them if I feel like I don't want to be a part of it. Sometimes I sit in it because I really want to figure out what to do with this. So I'll really sit in their energy, play around with their identity, and really figure out what to do, look at their human design, think about the strategy, and learn something for them, basically. And then I will give them that information, and then I'll disconnect from them. That's super woo-woo, but that's the amazing thing with open centers. I almost wish I had more of them, because I'm like, I want to absorb other people, but I don't get to. And then night routines for sure are really helpful. So I want to make sure throughout the day I'm doing stuff that is for my manifesting generator, where I had variety, like variety in food, variety in activity, variety of work, social activity. So I want to play around with that throughout the day and make sure that all of that is like good. And then at the end of the night, I'm checking in with my emotions, turning off my phone, doing some journaling, really just checking in with my emotions at the end of the night to let that go, because overnight, your subconscious, your brain, its job is to heal your body. And if there's a problem still, it's going to work on that problem instead of functioning your body. I used to not be able to sleep at night because my brain was like constantly trying to figure out a problem throughout the day. So I try to figure out that problem, like the solution to that problem, before I go to bed. That way it's done, and my brain and my body can just focus on rest and healing throughout the night to heal the things it needs to heal, instead of trying to solve a problem that I couldn't solve during the day, if that makes sense.
I love that you bookend your day. That's incredible.
I learned that from you, Katie.
I'm glad you're doing it. I love
Yeah.
the idea of pulling that out of your heart center, your heart chakra after you're working with somebody. It makes so much
Yeah.
sense to me.
Yeah, for you, Katie, you are defined here. So you're always connected to your identity, self-love, like all those things. You're really connected here, but you give people a voice, and then you're collecting their emotions, you're holding a lot of pressure. So I would actually do that with your throat, open your throat, stretch your throat, do things like that with your throat. And then for you, I would actually shake it out. Imagine shaking out anything that you've collected from them. So just shaking out their emotions, shaking out any pressure you feel, because if someone's, I'm under so much pressure, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, you might collect that. So it's just get up and shake out your legs, jump on a trampoline, anything to like just exit all of this energy that you've collected. And Sasha, same thing for you, because you have so many open centers as well. So like yours is like from head and ajna. So this could be a nice massage to your head, brushing your hair, sometimes grabbing the hair, releasing that pressure there, pulling the mental energy down. Basically, you want to come back down to your roots. So if you're in your head after a session, feeling your feet flat on the ground, feeling your butt flat in your chair, and just getting all this energy out, like not mine, not my monkey, not my circus, not my energy. This isn't mine. I'm coming. You can see how you're all open here, but then super defined here. When I look at your design, I feel really heavy. Like I want to just be down, like in my body. So that's how I would imagine myself coming back down to my body.
Yeah, I find myself craving brushing my hair at night.
Yeah.
Especially on days where just a lot has happened, where I'm like, I just need to sit here and just like brush my hair out a little bit and just take a minute.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
absolutely a go-to, just instinctually at the end of the day, or even
Yeah.
like sometimes midday if I'm feeling like the morning was cats and dogs in the house causing chaos, and I'm just trying to get to the business, and I'm trying to knock a few things out, and I just need a reset. I often find myself like, I'm going to the bathroom, I'm gonna brush my hair, I'm gonna just get myself together and then
Yeah.
have off. But then if I'm out like camping for a week or something, I won't even bring a brush with me. Like it just won't even occur to
Yeah.
me. Just
Because that's really grounding
yeah.
space. Like camping is really so. Yeah. So as you're walking through your house, if it feels chaotic, I want you just to feel in your body that you're being pulled into the earth. Like
Mm.
you're just being pulled. Almost imagine everybody's energy is like going over you and through you, but you're like getting down almost underneath it. So you're not accepting it. And it's more just like the energy of I am grounded. I don't need this. I'll let everybody do whatever they're doing. I'm not going to collect anything. I'm not taking any of this on. Yeah. This is all yours. I'm staying grounded in my intuition, keeping my emotions calm and neutral. This trust in the fact that you can handle any pressure, any energy. Your single definition. So that just means you really should focus in this area as much as you can, where I'm triple, so I'm going to be all over the place. And then Katie is split. So she's going to be in her head sometimes, in her G center and spleen. So she might be hopping between these two things once in a while. So then focusing on the like what to do, when to do, resting, that kind of stuff is going to help her more. So that's why human design is so interesting, because I'm like, oh, I do this. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm like, you should do this. And you're like, that sounds perfect. And it's totally different than what I'm doing. And that's why it works for you. And the idea is, but we all three of us feel grounded, energized, like capable, trusting, but we're doing it in slightly different ways. That's why it's fun.
Oh my God. I just love how you light up talking about this. It's so interesting to see and hear. And I hope everyone listening too just goes to your site and grabs that. So I feel like we could talk for 5 more hours about this. Seriously, I have so many questions, but we'll have to have you back on. Tell everybody where they can find you and a little bit more about that free gift too that you're offering.
Yeah, so I was planning to offer $100 off as well for human design coaching sessions. So if they contact me, mention the podcast, they can contact me through my website. So just like, I'm assuming you'll put it underneath because my name is long, but it's just www.amandadumichel.com. And then is that like such an ancient way to say that? Should I just have said amandadumichel.com and said www. Who says www anymore?
I do. I don't know why.
So anyways,
when the internet was born and you remember the day.
Yes. You've got mail. Okay. So yeah, they can find me on my website. They can download a free chart there. They can contact me for free insights if they want an email. Obviously, I'm not going to give them a whole reading, but just if somebody has 1 or 2 questions, it's just really fun to start sharing and introduce human design to them. And then also with the human design course coming up, depending on when you guys are going to launch this, I'm going to give you a discount code for $250 off of that, just discount code of period Besties. And so when they enter that, they can get, because I think you, Sasha, you work with a lot of coaches. If they are interested in using human design, like with their clients,
talk to the school students.
Yeah.
I'm
Fun.
sure some of them are into it. And if they aren't, they'll want to be.
Yeah. Even the course is great too. If you have kids, or with your partner, or understanding your friends better, it's going to teach you a lot about human design, how to use it, how to your nervous system regulation, things like that. It's not like a typical human design course where I'm just going to go through and say like everything there is about human design. It's going to actually talk about like how to actually use this for yourself, with your clients, with your friends and family, and how to operate actually in the world differently, which I've never seen a course like that before. So it's really going to be teaching you exactly how I use it. Plus, like I said, you get access to my super fun human design bot that I created. So yeah, so $250 off that, $100 off of the coaching session, free insights in the inbox. And this is how you get to see my manifesting generator energy. Cause I'm just like, how many things can I give you? It's like, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this. Like, which one do you want?
Brilliant.
I love it.
Yeah.
And this is going to be interesting. We do this really fun lightning round at the end. So it will be interesting to see your brain, your manifesting generator brain with this, because we would love you to just go with your intuition, first thing that comes to your brain, but that might be 5 things. So this is going to be fun.
Okay.
So the first question, what's the number one self-care go-to for when you're really stressed?
Showering. Showering is my favorite. During COVID, I was showering like 3 times a day. So, I just thought of another one, or cycling. Lately, it's been getting on here and been hammering out cycling. So yeah.
What's your favorite book?
My favorite book. That's really hard.
No.
Right now I'm reading The Art of Explanation. Like pretty much every mindset, neuroscience book. I have way too many books that I'm like, must order this, read a chapter, and then start working on the stuff it says. So yeah.
What's one thing you can't live without?
The first thing that popped into my head was my husband. So hopefully he listens to this, because I was ragging him on it earlier. That was the first thing I thought of.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's your favorite snack?
Favorite snack. My initial thought was ranch, and then I was afraid you're going to judge me. So I was like, literally anything with ranch. It's pretty much like anything with ranch. This is my favorite snack.
Perfect.
No
Yeah.
judgment.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Ranch. No, probably pizza. Probably pizza is my guilty pleasure. Yeah.
If you could live anywhere in the world and cost didn't matter, where would you live?
I feel like I would live in Italy.
Mm.
Italy. It's funny because I just looked up my astrocartography, which if you guys haven't heard of that, you should definitely look into that. It's like different energies of everywhere you go in the world. And it actually says I should live in California and New York, but those would be my go-to if it was normal, but Italy would be, I would love to live in Italy.
What's your favorite season?
I would say when I lived in Michigan, it was definitely summer, but here in Japan, it's for sure spring. Spring is so coming up like cherry blossoms before the heat kicks in. It's this energy of like new life, new energy. Kind of, so spring has become my new favorite.
Share with us your favorite food and your food that you don't like.
So unfortunately, I don't like sushi, which sucks because we lived here, but so I don't like anything raw like that. My favorite food, honestly, my favorite food is really spaghetti. Like I could eat some sort of pasta of any sort all day long. My favorite healthy food is like a kale, chicken, quinoa salad. I just can't always get those ingredients here, but I love a fresh tomato basil pasta.
What's your favorite movie?
I would say probably Pretty Woman or Dirty Dancing, which I just told a story about the first time I watched Dirty Dancing on my latest podcast episode when I was like 12 and I snuck in I snuck down from the upstairs into the living room, dining room area, and I could see the TV right through the kitchen into the family room where my parents were watching it. And that's how the first time I watched Dirty Dancing, I snuck in there. Nobody knew I was there watching it. And at that time, it's 1992. So the TV was like small, but I still watched it.
Is there a hobby that you have that a lot of people might not know about?
Hobby that I have that most people don't know about. I feel like my hobbies are basic, but I do ride my bike a lot. I feel like people are always really surprised to hear 2 days ago I rode like 33 miles on this bike indoors. We've ridden our bikes from like San Francisco to LA before. So we do a lot of high mileage road biking.
I almost got to do the life cycle ride that goes, I think, from San Francisco to LA.
Oh, fun.
Andy, it's like a long down the California coast. It's all funding for AIDS research. Oh, I was so bummed that I couldn't do it, but that sounded amazing.
Yeah, I've done some Ironmans for things like Challenge Athletes Foundation and Clean Water for Africa. But the California trip was just this random big idea that I had, the 3-line, like FAFO or whatever. And we just grabbed 2 of our friends and we mapped it all out. And at that time, we didn't really have like iPhones and stuff. So it was like map questing like down the coast, and it was pretty fun. It was dangerous, but really fun because it was just the 4 of us. But yeah.
It was good. What's the best concert you've ever been to?
The best concert. I would say the most recent concert something else just popped in my head. Okay, so I have 2. We just snuck off, like I just told this on the podcast too, so it's okay to tell you guys, but we snuck off to California last year and didn't tell a single person. But we went to see Sarah Bareilles at the Hollywood Bowl, and that was so good. There was even a point where she forgot the words and she invited like a person from the audience who came up and sang with her. And I don't know, the Hollywood Bowl. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure Katie, you've been, but yeah, I don't know, it felt like it was so magical. I loved it there. And then the other one that popped in my head was New Kids on the Block when I was like 9.
Yes.
That was pretty epic. So
that's awesome. And last question, what is your ideal weekend? What does it look like?
Oh gosh. See, that's the manifesting generator. There's no such thing. It's like a perfect weekend. It's just whatever I feel like at the time. Like this weekend, I'm feeling like I just want to go on a road trip and explore. And that's probably luteal phase too. I don't want to go do big cycling or anything like that, but just getting in the car, road tripping around, like seeing new things, being in the fresh air, being by the beach. But I also, in other times, doing big hikes. We've done a couple 10-hour huge hikes up to see like Mount Fuji and stuff, or finding a new fun ride to do, or I guess if doing a fun ride around Imperial Palace where we get to race other riders and then go eat pizza later that day would be pretty fun. So yeah, that's Manifested Generator Open G Center. Cannot decide on the perfect weekend until 5 minutes before it. Actually, that California trip we took last year, literally sitting on the couch. It was so hot outside. And my husband asked, what do you want to do for this holiday week? Because it was holiday week here in Japan. And I said, I just want to sit by the pool, eating lobster rolls, sitting in the sun, reading a book. And then I went, I just want to sit by the pool, blah, blah, blah. And I grabbed my phone, started searching flights and hotels, and we left within 24 hours and we were sitting like in California within 24 hours. So that's Manifesting Generator Open G Center 3-line energy. A lot of people would not be interested in that kind.
I'm in. Let's go. I just
Yeah,
call me
exactly.
anytime. I'm down.
Yeah.
When you're like, I want to live in Italy, I'm like, yeah, same.
too.
Let's go.
Same. Yeah. Wouldn't it be so nice? I've just been daydreaming about it lately, like living in a small town, making my own pasta, wearing a sundress, and going for a walk up to the market to buy some fresh stuff and just listening to Italian music,
Oh my God. You
riding
gotta watch
around in a little Fiat.
You gotta watch that new movie on Netflix. It's about a woman who buys a house, but she's young. I think she's 4 or not even. Oh God, what is it? The something villa. I can't remember the full name of it, but what you're saying, it's like Under the Tuscan Sun, right? Like that whole, but it's like a younger woman doing it. It's cute. Scott Foley's in it. I've loved talking to you. We have loved having you here. We definitely want to have you back. We have a lot more questions, but thank you so much for being our bestie and joining us today.
Yeah, it was super fun. Thanks for having me.
It
Feeling
really
super
was.
inspired by it. So yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you. And we'll see all of you next time. Bye, besties.
A big shout out and thank you to our sponsors for today's episode, Period Coaching School and Katie Bresek Wellness.
Thanks to you, our favorite bestie, for listening to the Period Besties podcast, where no topic is TMI. And of course, share this episode with your besties.
Remember to leave us a 5-star review, nothing less than the best for us besties, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
You can follow us on Instagram at Stasha Washburn and at Katie Bresak, or email us at periodbestiespodcast@gmail.com.
Check out more about us at katiebresak.com and periodcoachingschool.com. And of course, check the show notes for free goodies and extras that support this episode.
We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye for now, besties.